again, if you've got any extra floating around in there. Oh, you do have a sinking chair. Are you sure? Yeah, this is a sinking chair. Poor guy.
Pat Bradford. I am here. Pete Wildebohr.
Present.
Josie Barnhart.
Here.
Kim Clark.
Here.
Paul Slavic.
Here.
Hannah Moon.
Here.
Philip Sutton. Charlene Thompson.
Here.
Jared Worthington.
Here.
Stephanie Walker.
Here.
Rod Zappel. Eric Cradle.
Here.
Amanda Kosiak.
Here.
Lisa Wurzbacher.
Here.
Natalie English. John Hennett. Christopher Riley. Libby Jones.
Mr. Sutton's here.
Okay, we're going to move into the pledge and the invocation. Starting with the pledge. Pete Wildebohr.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity we have in front of us today. We pray that this committee strive to work for the betterment of our students and for our community. We call this a calling and a passion that we have to influence in a positive way the lives of the next generation. Help that to be the focus today, that we have clear minds, clear thoughts, and a ready heart willing to help those around us. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Next up is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Same thing with the minutes. You have two sets of minutes for the last two meetings. Would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Need a second? I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. All right. That's going to take us right to presentation of school facilities. So take a nanosecond and go through your packet on that. And then if we can keep our comments down and our questions concise, because we have a very tight schedule, and at the end of this we are going to have a vote on what our priorities are, and that vote as a committee, there's 18 voting members of this committee, that vote will then go on to the full board for their consideration, our board, school board, and then it'll go, after much tweaking and discussion and so on, it'll end up in front of the county commissioners. So who's going to lead the presentation? Is this Rob or is this you, sir?
Rob, I'll kick it over to you and I'll jump in as needed.
All right, so one of the things we had a member of the public come up and say, if you'll let me call on you and I can say your name so that the people listening online know who's speaking when you're speaking. So Rob Morgan, Operations Director, is going to take us through the proposal of school facilities.
I'm sorry. I will kick this off, Rob. Sorry. So what you have here is what we sent earlier, is basically we ran a capacity study for all of our schools after the 10th day of enrollment, which is when enrollments start to stabilize. So you can see here as you go down the side here, what I've looked at is I just used the capacity that we currently have with the mobile units that are on site right now. So those are mobile units that are in use in those buildings. our current enrollment, and then a capacity percentage of how full those schools are. Now, for some reason in this one, Alderman should be highlighted in purple at the top there. I apologize. I must have shifted at some point. But I did highlight in purple those schools that are under 70% full. Now, again, you don't want a school to be at cap necessarily. That means that every single seat is filled with a child, which gives you very little room for enrollment, for shifts that happen naturally during the school year. But I also highlighted in yellow the places that we are over 100% capacity. I think when I did this, what really rose out to me was the fact that our middle and high schools are very, very much at capacity or over. So our middle schools are almost 89% full. Our high schools are 97% full. And then our elementary schools are still at 87, which is not a terrible number to work with. So I just wanted you guys to have that because I think it's relevant in the decisions and conversations we'll have today.
Okay. Now, did you have anything to add to that?
I do not.
Okay. So then we're going to move through your packet to a sample of project costs, and that would be Dr. Morgan again.
Okay, thank you. Rob Morgan, Superintendent for Operations. So, based on where we left off at the last meeting, what we've tried to do is present a sample project cost with the idea of including some of the projects that I believe one of the members proposed. I don't know that it was voted on, but essentially we were trying to look at what it might look like if we were to tally up those particular school projects as well as some of the additional costs that would go into it if we were looking at the $300 million bond option that Mr. Cradle presented last time. And so what you'll see listed there are revised costs that are current. You're going to see River Lights, and I heard a mention of this previously, although I wasn't involved in the conversation, so I apologize for eavesdropping. River Lights is identified as a new school, whereas Pine Valley is identified as a replacement, simply because River Lights doesn't currently exist and Pine Valley does currently exist. For New Hanover High School, we identified Phase 1. Trask Middle would be a new building on the grounds where CTEC High School is currently located, and Porter's Neck Elementary School would be an addition of 8 classrooms. The additional costs that are not project-specific are district-wide technology improvements, district-wide safety improvements, program management, and contingency costs.
Yes. Dr. Lawrence.
Yes. One of the things that we have talked about in here, when you build River Lights, Pine Valley, whatever, those schools will be built at a higher capacity. Based on our current enrollment, one of the things I've discussed with the board a lot is about our overhead costs of buildings. Throughout this process, what we do not want to see happen is to have more buildings than less. We want to exchange buildings that are outmoded, outdated, or unsafe, but I don't think it's our inclination to increase overhead, which means that River Lights really wouldn't be an additional school building. It would replace Williams. I don't think that the enrollment would consider rebuilding another new school at Williams' spot, if that makes sense to everyone. So with the increased enrollment you would get with a new building, it would more than cover what Williams would be. So that's sort of responding to our enrollment trends, and I just wanted to make sure that that was made clear. I actually spoke with the staff at Williams about that last week when I was there, but I didn't want people to think that that's going to be adding to our footprint, if that makes sense. Thank you.
And we had started internally, a couple of us, referring to the River Lights Mary C. as Mary C. Williams at River Lights. So you understand that that project would cease when that one came online, instead of it's two different things. And we're also referring to the Trask as the Trask CTEC because Trask will be repurposed as well. So we gain a new school, but we keep an old school and repurpose it. It's pretty wonderful. So questions on that? We had really looked at these with a little bit lower numbers, and now these are pretty much up-to-date numbers that what you're seeing. And I'm looking at my screen, but sample of project cost is where we are, and that comes out to $300,521,418. If we pick up the 5 schools that we identified last time as what we thought were our priorities, plus the district-wide safety improvements for $10 million, the district-wide technology improvements for $10 million, the district-wide building systems and infrastructure for $20 million. That's going to include upgrade to our HVACs and things in our infrastructure that have not had any attention. And what Dr. Morgan has in front of you also has program management on it for $2.7 million. So those 9 things has been our focus. So now is the time, if you have a focus that you want to bring into this or a change, now would be the time to bring it up. Yes, Pete Wildeboer.
I would just like to add, or really highlight, that even though it says Trask Middle School, we're really expecting not only Trask Middle School, but Laney High School, which really would be a huge help in the area of the high schools. As Dr. Barnes has shared, we're very, very high, we're very close to capacity, or maybe even over capacity, especially at Laney. But that would free that up and give us a lot more opportunity to bring those numbers down.
It would also make the Laney footprint 80 acres as well, because if they would expand it.
I did,
It would create Trask as an addition to Laney, which would increase their acreage overall.
And I think in case, if I could jump in case people don't know, a lot of the Trask, that I used to be there, a lot of the Trask facility is already used by Laney, like the softball field for Laney High School is actually located at Trask. They do share that with the Trask Junior High School, but it is the Laney softball field, so.
And one of the things that I noted, I made myself a little spreadsheet because it's easier for me to work that way, but the Mary C. at River Lights is a project, Eric, correct me, Chris Coudray told me that was approved in 2017 maybe? And it was just dropped off the list because of the financing. So it had previously been approved, and it's just sitting there at the top of the pile.
So in 2017, there was a joint resolution, a resolution between, that the county commission made and then that the school board made, essentially stating that we did need that property for a school. So that was, in my opinion, I'm not an attorney, but it was kind of the what we needed to do to say, yes, we need that property. From a financing perspective, that, I apologize, I can't recall the year. I know that we were talking about that. It was on the list, and at that point, it may have been during COVID, cost had doubled, and if I'm remembering correctly, the school board also requested a grant to cover that because it did get so large, and they were not awarded that grant. Does that help?
Yes, and
Okay.
I do remember that, but it's always great. So basically, you're looking at elementary and elementary with Pine Valley, River Lights, then Mary C. Williams rolled into 2. New Hanover, obviously high school, but as Mr. Wildeboer noted, Trask and CTEC becomes a high school and a middle school advancement. And then the Porter's Neck addition of 8 classrooms, as I understand it, there's a corridor just sitting there waiting to add on. I guess the planners knew at the time that they needed to add on there. So those things hit 5 schools, but they also impact other schools, and then 6, 7, 8, and 9 impact every school. And for a bond standpoint, if we don't impact every school, I believe that we're setting ourselves up for less success than we might have if we do impact every school. Yes, Commissioner Walker.
Thank you. I had a question, but thank you for clarifying that. I had a question about New Hanover High School. I'm looking at 2 different spreadsheets here, the one that's in the packet and the one that was on top of the packet. And it says rework hybrid 1 and 2 with elements of 3 and 4. Can somebody elaborate on that? Because I'm confused.
That is
about
simply what my ideas were yesterday before we had new information. And I was talking with Mr. Cradle earlier. I would like to see us say we're going to allocate in the bond, what does this one say? $60 million, 59,786. $60 million, and we're going to pick up phase one, but we're going to allow for the option of tweaking phase one and bringing some things up, like the cafeteria, to me, is a high priority. So if this committee later on says, yeah, we got to do the cafeteria, so what can we take off and add? But I don't think we have to drill down and nail that coffin today. I don't think. There's going to be a lot of opinion. I've got three things that in the New Hanover $60 million that I would like to see, and it's the cafeteria first, second, getting the buses off of Princess and across Market Street and change that, and then equally to me is the safety of the kids coming across the catwalk and that access point there. And I don't know where, the courtyard, I don't know, I asked Dr. Morgan to tell me which phase those three things were in.
So the cafeteria and the bus, the movement of the bus drop-off are both phase one. Portions of the catwalk, securing the catwalk, are in phase one. I think it essentially boils down to the recommendation is for the county to get ownership of the catwalk.
Yes.
And then we can close it off at the street level in a couple of places, because we will have the school perimeter enhanced as part of phase one. But there are additional plans in phase three to take the catwalk essentially to the next level, where they would add connectors on either side to the buildings.
Yeah, okay.
That would not come until phase three, but I think securing the catwalk is included in phase one.
Do you have any idea what the cost of those additional plans in phase three are?
I don't have that specific cost, but the total phase three is projected at $56 million.
Okay, so I kind of follow, the confusion is, I guess, and what I'm concerned with is if we start to do that, whether or not the rest of it gets funded. And I only say that because I think we decided as a body to choose the hybrid phase. I think we all did that. Mm-hmm. And I understand the finances is the part we're struggling with right now, and we want to be realistic with that. And I do agree, which I've talked to my colleague about, making sure we have countywide stuff on this bond so it gets approved. But I am concerned about parsing it out, because what happens when we don't get more money? You know, this bond is this a 10-year bond, Eric? Like the 20? Okay. But we got how many years to spend it? So I guess I'm worried that, because I know, I've been trying to think really hard about where we can get this money from other than the bond, which we all should be doing. And I did happen to find the purchase agreement for the endowment, and it does clearly say technologies on here also. So I'm just wondering if we're trying to decide what to put in this bond, I mean, can some stuff go for endowment asks? It says in here too, school facilities designed for the mid-21st century education delivery. So I think I don't know what that looks like. I don't have all the answers, but I'm afraid that if we start taking things out and repurposing and changing the hybrid, like what does that look like in the future? That's like one phase.
And Commissioner Walker, I would say that sheet that was on top, just throw that one away because it's now outdated. That was just my opinion yesterday, and it's changed. And I have the answer to those questions.
But it kind of is a hybrid, though, to your point, because the phase one has some of it, but not all of the elements that are in. But anyway,
well, he just answered my question, because if the cafeteria is already in phase one, and if moving the bus drop-off is already in phase one,
okay.
I'm happy, especially if we're going to work hard to deal with the catwalk so it's more secure.
Yes.
But also, and Dr. Barnes talked about this yesterday, we had just a casual conversation about other funding sources that could come in the next 7 years. But the catwalk and that courtyard area would come under a safety feature, so we might can get a grant somewhere for that separate, because it is a safety issue. And again, we do have $10 million to be spent, over 10 years for safety, but I don't think that should come out of that. I think that should hit all the other safety things that we've let go. But Dr. Barnes, would you address some of the suggestions you had yesterday about other ways that we could fund some of this?
Well, the only thought, when you do incredibly invasive surgery on something, you allow the body to heal before you go on to further surgery, right? So My concern is the reason that we set up the phases in the way we did is to build capacity so that there's a place for the students to be while you did further phases, if that makes sense. So that phase one, the cafeteria, also contains a large number of classrooms over on across Market Street, is that what you guys call it? Okay, across the street from the main campus or whatever. Thank you. South side.
Southside works. And you have that master plan in your packet, I believe. I know it's online on today's agenda because I'm looking at it.
So in working with Mr. Sutton and our folks, we really tried to highlight the things that were critical in phase one. I want to think that sometimes this may take more than a 7-year or 10-year pattern to get all these things done. And I don't want to, take more food on our plate than we can eat. But in regards to other funding sources, there are other ways to leverage funding that does not pass along to the constituents, the taxpayers. So if phase one was funded in the bond, there are other ways that we can work with the commission, the endowment, other organizations to look at further phases as well. I think to Ms. Walker's point, what we don't want to do is do phase one and go, looks like we're good, because this is a part of a larger plan. However, Dr. Morgan, you stated before that those phases are complete in and of themselves. So when you do a phase, it's not like you're going to walk down the end of a hallway and fall out of the building. Each phase finishes itself to build for the next phase.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes,
So,
Lisa.
am I understanding correctly then that you need to do phase one, or at least parts of phase one, to be able to do phase two and three in terms of moving kids
I
around?
think you have to do it in this specific order. The rate at which you do it, I think, is negotiable, but you would want phase one done before you started phase two.
Right, okay, that's what I was
Would you
asking.
agree, gentlemen?
I would. I mean, I think the way that it's set up, you could arguably move things around. I don't think that's the recommendation. I know that that's not our recommendation. I don't think that's the recommendation of the designers. I think it's established, the order is established in the recommended order.
Yeah, and it's not mine any longer now that I know that it's already up there. That's all I wanted. I want to make sure the cafeteria got dealt with, and I want to make sure the bus drop-off got dealt with. And if it's that's in, those are in phase one, then I am content with it. And again, there's money out there for safety, and doing the catwalk in the courtyard could come under that. I had talked with Principal Sutton about challenging all the different alumni groups from New Hanover to have a fundraiser. And if we're putting 60 into a bond, maybe they can join together and raise $60 million on their own. This doesn't have to all be in this one bucket. So we have to be mindful of the taxpayers and the burden that's on them now. Ms. Barnhart, Ms. Barnhart and then Commissioner Zappel.
Madam Chair, I do have a couple questions of clarity. I'm going to echo my colleagues to the left, though. I think the Trask Middle School project definitely supports both levels of secondary, and that's an invaluable project for us to have on this bond. When I'm looking at the updated summary costs that was on the top of our packet, when you were mentioning the district-wide infrastructure, including HVAC, on the sample of project costs that we have, I see $10,000 for technology improvements, $10,000 district-wide safety improvements, but on this updated summary cost page, I see a $20,000 for infrastructure, which to my understanding, that was where the HVAC would fall in. Additional 10 for technology, 10 for safety. It said almost 6 for project management and 11 for contingency. So I see that the 20 million is missing from the sample project costs. And so I just wanted to, in this example, does this include potential updates district-wide to our HVAC system? For the sample project, it's V sample of project cost. Is that included in this?
And you are correct.
So it's not included in
And
this.
what's on this V sample project, the 20 million for upgrades to infrastructure like HVAC is missing. So that would take this, if that would be the ninth thing, that would take it to $320,521,418. And I
So-
really think that we have neglected our roofs, we've neglected our air conditioners, we've neglected the important parts of our buildings because we didn't have the money for so darn long in this county, we have to become proactive. We have to. And this would put us a long way towards it. And I think doing that, I mean, schools need it desperately. So Commissioner Zeppel, you were next, and then Commissioner Walker.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that thread that we were just talking about, New Hanover High School, and then a couple of other points. I don't see how we can do phase one without phase two. We have, phase two basically deals with the A building or the main campus. We now have an absolutely gorgeous looking exterior, but the interior, all the classrooms, still need to be renovated and brought up to a 21st century school. So to me, it's the point of doing phase one is to create the capacity with the new cafeteria area and all that goes in, the band area and all that, so that we can move the school population from the large building over there for an 18-month or whatever it takes period to get the renovation complete. I mean, I feel, and Dr. Barnes, you know, along with your thought, I feel like we're in mid-step. We've gotten the exterior of that building done. The only way to get to doing the complete job of renovation is to create space to put people without moving them off campus and complete that. So in my mind, I see the 60 plus the 75, so it's a $135 million initial phase to get New Hanover High School at least into the 21st century. One without the other, well, first off, you can't do phase two without phase one, and doing just phase one only gets us a new place to eat, a nice courtyard to look out of, and a place to have some music. I'm being a little bit exaggerating here, and the new bus drop-off as well. I feel like that's half a step. We need to put more investment in, and I agree with Commissioner Walker that, you know, we have two other phases to get to, but for me, a bare minimum is that phase one and phase two. In fact, that's a complete thought there. Before we respond, I had some other questions about, you asked for.
Let's address that one first.
Okay.
Board Member Barnhart and I have been discussing, you guys, as county commissioners, you can fund anything you want at any time.
Mm-hmm.
You're the purse holder. So you can
Correct.
fund phase two outside of this bond.
Mm-hmm.
And am I correct, Eric?
Well, I mean,
They could.
yes, at any
If
given
they chose
time.
to.
It would put
However,
us in capacity on the debt per capita that we
Yeah.
looked at last night. So, I mean, just add on to our debt. I don't know why you would just go and do it as part of this.
Well, we need to stay under the ceiling of what is available. And,
I feel like you're adding it late, just a little bit later, which you're suggesting.
no, I'm just posing the question. I'm in favor of phase one and then dealing with phase two later on down the road, personally. But to answer his question, I mean, you guys are the purse holders. And, but if we don't spread this across the county, we don't have any chance of success. If we focus the majority of the money on one school, we don't have, we limit our success rate.
Oh, I agree, Pat, and I know I've made that point multiple times in previous committee meetings. I think the real question to Eric and our incredibly talented county staff that's here, do we have the capacity for a $375 million bond?
We reviewed various scenarios last time. My memory is, and we can look at it again if you want to, but I had 5 different scenarios, I believe. And I believe at that level, we would get above our current policy limits that we've got in place.
And are there mechanisms by which we could raise that? I know the per capita number.
So one other thing I would say is, yes, we hold the purse strings, but it's also at the will of a tax rate.
True.
And if we're going to start taking out lots of debt, then it probably needs to be talked about that this school board or this committee publicly goes on the record of supporting rate increases to be able to pay for it. The other thing I think we also want to discuss on phase two is needed, and at a later time, are we talking 20 years later when we're done paying off the debt? Or are we talking in 5 years, which means we're going to have more budgeting issues that we're going to have to look at where services come offline to handle it.
Can I add to this real quick? I mean, only because I think I understand what is being asked. I don't think, tell me if I'm wrong, is there other pockets or buckets of money that the county has access to that could help pay for this? That's what I'm hearing. I mean, because we're talking about putting on a bond for debt that the voters decide. But I don't see any other buckets of money besides the revenue stabilization fund, which has very strict reasons why you can go into it, one. But I don't see any other funds we can pull from. And again, I'm holding the paperwork up for the endowment because I think we're talking around this issue, and I really would love for us to talk more about that. And I know we can't all control that, but I think the purchase agreement is pretty clear what it will fund, and technology is on here also. So I don't know how we need to make that happen, but I don't think it needs to just, that money is community money, it's people's money. I mean, and you know, we have a board that is of 13 that ultimately decides, there's a grants committee, there's a process, but the roadmap's here, and I don't know why we're talking around, obviously asking them for this, and I'm not saying I have the answers, y'all, but I just know what's in here, and I'd like for us to bring them into the discussion, besides the county having to decide, oh, what bucket of money do we pull this from, and the voters. So, leaving that out there, I don't know.
Well, you're looking at of saying, yeah, let's do phase one. Okay, so imagine we have a child naked and it's snowing. And, you know, we can put shoes on that kid and we can put underwear on that kid. We maybe can't buy him a fur hat and gloves, but we have to start somewhere. And if the bond is kind of in the 330 range, then we have to make these numbers work. Well, we can't deal with the numbers, but we have to make our selection fit within that parameter. And there isn't funding for phase one and phase two in this bond, in my opinion. Now, how the committee votes later today, that's different. But
Commissioner Zappel did make an excellent point, and I did not think about it before, but that building, just because we fixed the front from falling down, it is an older school, and I'm not seeing all of the reports. I'm actually trying to get that whole full report on the problems with that building. But goodness knows what's in it. And what's dangerous for those students. I feel like it's a safety concern, and I know nobody wants to admit that out loud, but it is a 100-year-old school, and, you know, the things that I'm hearing are not good, and I don't think are good for the students to be in that environment. I think it should be a priority, so I think Mr. Zappel's point on that.
do you want to address that, Mr. Sutton?
Well, I can just say the things that were done to the front of the building are going to help maintain that main front. The windows, the sealant that's on the outside now keeps it from deteriorating and getting even more worse. None of that has been done with the rest of the building. And so it's going to continue to degrade as we go through. Capacity-wise or room sizes, those kinds of things, we've got the rooms, but those rooms, are going to continue to break down as the weather and other elements are involved there. So I agree. I think you've got to start looking at the rest, the stabilization of the foundation, those kinds of things are happening and needing in some other areas. So it's a safety concern all around. It's upgrades that's needed. So yes, phase one is going to lead to phase two, and it's going to need to happen, or we're going to continue to raise costs and the needs that that place is going to have, unless we get another situation like we were in last year, and this got to happen right away.
Yeah, that was triage.
And I'm going to let Dr. Barnes address that next, and then Amanda, and then Natalie, and, Vivian, I skipped you. So, yeah. And then Pete. Okay, Dr. Barnes, take it away.
I think we need to focus on a couple of things. It's about momentum and capacity. The way to minimize the cost, correct me if I'm wrong, the way to minimize this cost to the taxpayer is to view this as a marathon, not a sprint. Because every year debt service comes off as you guys finish paying it off. So if we can pace ourselves and do this over a course of time, one, I want to make sure that we are good stewards of the money that taxpayers are giving us and completing projects in a timely manner. So I don't want to bite off more than we can chew. And I think if we build momentum and capacity, that lends itself to more opportunities for money later on. So whether that is the endowment as you spoke of, or whether it's a different idea than debt service, or whatever it is, I think that we should pace ourselves, is my only thought. That's what I was going to say.
Lisa?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to respond to a couple of comments that have been made. First, Commissioner Zappel, you asked if the debt limit could be raised. That is an internal policy. That is up to the Board of Commissioners to determine. But I will note that changing the debt policy could potentially impact our debt ratings. So I just want to make sure that that is out there. Secondly, there was a comment about how many years we have to spend the money. The 7 to 10 years is how long we have to issue. We can take longer to spend it. And then also one other clarification, I'm sorry, it was just multiple things. I think you mentioned the Revenue Stabilization Fund. I just wanted to remind everyone that that is not just a majority of the board. That does take a supermajority of the board to tap into that fund.
Let me follow quickly with Lisa, so that everybody has an understanding of raising that debt capacity. What is it currently now set per capita for every citizen in New Hanover County? We have a number, right? 2,000? Yeah.
Eric can talk about the actuals. I know our limits are $2,200 per capita, 1.6% of our assessed value, and 20% of our operating budget. Where we are now is lower than that.
And we covered those tax burdens to the citizens last month, and it was pretty tight.
And we're currently at what, like 1,600?
We're at 1672.
And we have a limit of 2,200, right? Go ahead.
I was going to say, at the $300 million issuance limit, we would have been above 2,200 per capita for 3 years. We talked a little bit about last time, potentially you could do a temporary waiver, or you could, for a couple of years. Once you get to the $400 million limit, you're at 2,742 per capita for 1 year. You're above 2,500 for 3 years. So just to sort of give some parameters there.
And Eric, with the recent reassessment, we would have every justification to raise that. Am I correct?
I mean, it's a
I know it's a
philosophical
judgment
question.
call, yes, I get it, but, the capacity is based on the overall, assessment and the amount of value we have in the county, which is now at 80 billion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, up from 50 billion. So
But from what I understand, it's in arrears. They figure off of the 50 million right now, not the 80. And that was a good clarifier for me.
I mean, the property tax base is a secondary debt limit that we've got, where we've got very comfortable margin on that. It's at $2,200 per capita, so that really has nothing to do with the tax base. That's just taking every person in the county and multiplying by $2,200, so 240,000 people times 2,200 is $530 million or so.
Yeah, and that would include the debt we already have out on the street, right? The 532.
530 is sort of the grand total, that we currently have 412, I want to say, something like that. So we're currently got a $130 million cushion, if you will. But again, we talked about last time, we pay down debt every...
As it goes down, we could raise up. And also, just want to make sure everyone heard this, that, there is a way by which we could put a waiver in for a multi-year period, 2 or 3 years, where we ran into going over that debt capacity until more debt got paid off. That's what I meant by there are several mechanisms by which we could temporarily raise without going to a full, up to $2,700 per person.
Well, let me clarify, because I thought I heard Lisa just say that if we did, or Eric, if we did the 3 to 330, we would still be needing a temporary waiver for 2 or 3 years. Did I not hear you just say that?
Yes, the $300 million.
So we're already looking at that at this lower number. So let's move on from this. I'm going to come back. Amanda, you were in the stack. Pete's in the stack. Josie's now in the stack, but I think Livian's had her hand up for a lot longer. Okay, let's do Livia and then Natalie, because neither one of them has spoken yet.
I just wanted to review where we are, but 2014 is when I started, when they reactivated River Lights. The development agreement was finalized October 2014. The reason the official contract is the school system had to identify the site. And Eddie would say, well, we don't really have the money right now, so it took a couple years for that to happen. In saying that, these projects that are at the top, when I served on the bond committee in 2014, and these projects that I see at the top of this list were on that list then. That concerns me, and I know that we've got a bond limit. I saw this past weekend where Brunswick County was going after $410 million. Yeah, well, and I don't know, I haven't dug, I hadn't had time to dig into it enough, but we've got a lot of needs, and it's been 12 years, and the needs of those three at the top haven't changed. Back to Laney, and what needs to happen there. Laney, as far as I know, has been overcrowded every year. My son, how old is he now? Was there 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So it's a dilemma, and I don't know that I have a way to solve it. I like the endowment ideas, we do need to come up with ways to, but I just, looking at the dollar values, we're only going to be touching some of the needs.
Yes, we know.
Yeah.
We know.
Okay.
All right. Ms.
Thank you,
English?
Madam Chair. I think that the only information we have today for our decision is the current capacity of the county debt.
Yes.
I think it's great to talk about other potential sources of revenue. It's great to talk about how we might have policies changed, but the message we have to work with right now is that we have a $2,200 per capita debt limit, and that is all we should be talking about. I don't see how, for us to sit here and keep dreaming and keep begging and keep thinking. I agree, y'all. I am the chamber CEO. It is my job to make sure that we have all of the assets we need in this community for people to want to bring their jobs here, to live here and work here and all the things. So I want $615 million, but I'm a realist also. We right now only have, technically it's about 300 million, and we're talking about 330, and I'm struggling with why we keep having a conversation about more money when we don't have direction that we have more money today. I think we have plenty of time. If our commissioners have the ability to change policy on their board, a message could be sent back to us that there's more capacity. That's where I'm standing on this.
Thank you. Pete's next, and then Ms. Barnard.
Okay, just real quick, I just want to agree with Commissioner Walker, Commissioner Zappel. I think that we could look at this in a situation where we look at phase one in the bond, because I'm a realist, but I also like to come up with solutions. And I think we could look at phase two. I mean, one thing we've done, and I'm going to say I'm part of the concern and the problem with this is, you guys have gone to the endowment, we've gone to the endowment. I think we need to go as a united front to the endowment and say, guys, this is what it's one of your pillars. You need to do this. You're not like, well, can you please? Or, I mean, we can't demand it, obviously, but we can say, and you guys are the ones that formed, not the current folks, but, the county commissioners were the ones that, through that sale agreement, put this together, said we're going to do this money is going to be for, one of the things is for the schools, one for technology. I don't think we're holding them to the fire, and I think we need to start doing that. But we can't do it, us and them and you guys and you guys and you guys. We need to come, let's get this bond behind us, let's get that in a good place, and then let's go as a united front to them and say, we got to get it done. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
Thank you.
Zappel?
I'd like to shift gears a little bit.
I would too.
And
second part of
go
yours.
back to the original question about, this list here. And Rob, maybe this is a question for you. It's about design costs. I know especially with the two new schools, the River Lights and the Pine Valley, why are we not using a unified or unitary design? We already have Porter's Neck, the designs we own for that. Why don't we use that design for both those other schools, and save, $6+ million just in those design fees? Any thoughts?
Well, for those two in particular, the best I can tell you is the schematic on this
Mm-hmm.
So I really can't speak to the evaluation of design.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that we've got things on paper that we can work. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I'm sure we have concept, drawings of these, but we've got complete construction drawings that have already been approved. And I'm just pulling Porter's Neck. I'm sure there are others that we've had in the past there. So that when you come to a school, any school in the New Hanover County system, the 42 bricks and mortar, there's where you are. You're in a New Hanover County school. You walk into one, it's the same as walking into another. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it could also save us considerable amount of money. I just, food for thought, Rob, on that. And maybe that's a discussion with LS3P or somebody else. Also, who did the cost escalations? Do we know, Chris? Some of these are pretty substantial cost escalations from the numbers we've been dealing with.
So I actually worked with LS3P to try and get numbers based on conversations they've been having with others to monitor, current construction costs. These numbers are indicative of what school systems across the state are using as they plan for things over the next 2 years.
I see.
So
Yeah.
we've got some escalation costs built in as well.
Just in the Riverlight School, that number's almost a 25% increase, from one number to the next. Somewhere in here, there's, again, it's just, I'm going to say this without any criticism meant at all, but we've turned over the pricing to the people who will most take advantage or get advantage of increasing the price. It means nothing to LS3P. Know them, love them, great friends, but if they, put on an accelerator rate of, 22 to 25% on it, who cares? As long as there's, enough money for them and for everything to get the job done.
That's true. We also have to rely on people who actually follow those trends. I don't have the inside knowledge of that simply because, part of it because I don't work in that industry, and part of it's because my division encompasses a lot more than just that. And so I agree with you. I also think that them giving us those numbers doesn't mean that they will automatically get the work.
Yeah, good point.
And one of the points, Commissioner Zappel, is, as we have done throughout my history here, is if we budget 53,855 for the River Lights and it comes in under, that money will then be reallocated to something else on the list or sitting there for the board to then say, this is what we're going to do with it. So if costs go down. But I want to redirect us on the tasks that we have here today.
Madam Chair, could I just please finish the thought that I was trying to build to?
Okay.
How about this? If we deliver to LS3P a number that they can design to with the priorities, like with New Hanover High School, as you noted at the beginning of this meeting, you want the new cafeteria, we want the new bus drop-off, and we want the renovation of Building A. If we said you have $100 million to do that, can you do it? I think that would be a different conversation, rather than let them set it.
That's
follow
true.
the
They
difference.
can't do it without a contractor.
But-
You have
well-
to have a guaranteed max.
I was going to say, and also understand that the schematic designs we have aren't necessarily with LS3P for all of these schools, which means we would have to go back and start from scratch and because they're not going to work with somebody else's designs, right?
Yes. I think before we even get down to that level there, the possibility, it's the numbers that are bothering me that tend to continually rise in one direction. And it's always more, and the more you go back, and I guarantee, Rob, if you went back and talked to the, LS3P today, they would increase these numbers again and say, oh, we just got, more information from Catawba County about a school they just put in there.
And also, I have no problems reaching out to others as well.
Yeah.
That, to me, it's not necessary. I was simply trying to give us numbers that we could begin to work with, because I don't think that we're going to find drastically different numbers, but I agree, they're always going to go up.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from with that. I just don't want anybody to feel like I'm beholden to working with one group to try and get us numbers. I'm simply trying to get us information in a short time frame.
Yeah. And
I guess
wanna
I'm just suggesting that
redirect.
we work from our top number and then look at the amount of the work that we want in our priority.
I agree. And if we get to that point where we have a number, I think that's where we'll begin.
And we can talk about our vendors later on in this process. Now we have to establish our list and go forward, and that's what we're here for today.
Our policy has a process of choosing vendors as well, that we will adhere to, obviously.
So with the time we have remaining, does anyone have questions that would hinder them from being able to say, yes, I want to go with these 8 things, or yes, I want to go with these 9 things, or I want something else to come into the mix? And I'm going to go with Natalie English and then Amanda.
Thank you. So my question has to do with the
the 10 million for technology and the 10 million for safety. Can we list the schools at some point? I'm not saying it has to be here, but can you tell me which schools get it and which might not? I think that'll be really important for me.
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah. I can't start it off right now, but I will.
And my understanding was it will hit all schools sooner or later. What the order in hitting the schools is still to be determined.
Yeah, I think the idea is that it would, like, every year, certain schools would be hit, so that every school ideally in the district would benefit from that.
So when we're asking our neighbors to vote yes, right, can I safely say to them that at some point in the next 7 to 10 years, every school in our district will be impacted by technology and safety improvements?
Yes.
Under this bond, not just, but because there's other ways it can be impacted.
I'm asking
but
them to
yeah.
vote for the bond, and so that's why I needed, thank you,
That's our understanding.
That's my question, thank you.
That's our understanding. I think Amanda was next.
That was one of my questions. I think it'll be important to sort of even just list it out for people's visual, but my second one was the River Lights Elementary. I'm understanding it's going to, William C. Mary is going to come offline. I noticed there's no cost next to it. Do we need to have a demolition cost? Is that already built into River Lights?
That is built into River Lights.
Perfect.
What is, Amanda, I didn't hear you.
If Mary C. Williams is coming offline as River Lights come on, the demolition cost of Mary C. Williams.
Yeah. And what happens to that property is a board decision later down the road. Commissioner Walker, okay.
Okay, you go now, he hasn't spoken. You go ahead.
Christopher Riley.
Yes, just looking at some of the capacity information, this would be a question I would have if I were a taxpayer or the endowment, is that, if you're going to the taxpayers to ask for this money, and you have 6 elementary schools below 80% capacity, then the question I guess I would have is, where's the accountability and the efficiency and the number of schools that are being run? You're asking for more money, so from the taxpayers. And I don't know what kind of thinking has gone into this process, so forgive me for just being more general. And I think, there's some give and take here with taxpayers. We've probably lost students net over the past 6 years. It's not a huge number, but it's some number. And that should be in the conversation, because that's a question that taxpayers are going to have and should have, as well as the members of the endowment, is, where's the thinking around the efficiency of the money that's being spent, which certainly we're in dire need of this money, but we're looking to pass the bond. So I'm thinking of it from a perspective as what could keep the bond from passing. And that's, if everybody saw this information and they saw that, I think that's a question a lot of people would have.
I'm going to let Dr. Farnes answer first.
So I think some of that is the way it's being framed. We're not trying to our goal isn't just to increase our capacity. Our goal is to replace outmoded, unsafe, and outdated schools. We can't even have the conversation about consolidation, redistricting, things like that, until we fix these schools that are just not really as the safest place for students that we can have. So do I think that the question is, do we need to continue to look at our overhead and how do we consolidate and how do we make sure that we're putting the right pieces in the right places? I think the answer to that is yes, but I really think these have to happen before those conversations can.
Yeah, and if you remember, if you have not taken a tour of Mary C. Williams, call the principal, ride over. Same with Pine Valley, and you will know exactly why we're talking about this. No disrespecting how well they maintain those properties, but they are definitely outdated, outmoded, and in my opinion, a security risk. So, Ms. Barnhart?
Oh, I was next.
Oh, well, we could just ask our principal too. Did you were you next?
I did want to echo my colleague's sentiment, the fact of looking at numbers. to be able to have the conversation about consolidation. And, you know, earlier we discussed an opportunity of where could different revenue sources come in. It's reevaluating, and, you know, we're going to have a meeting right after this as a workshop with fellow board members to talk about the maximizing efficiency, specifically in our elementary schools. What does that look like? To say, how can we do it to maximize space and have the staffing we want at the school sites? What is that number of students that we want to have in the building to be able to have that effectively? And that's a conversation we'll be having very shortly after this meeting. But I do hear your concern, and in the conversation, if it is a discussion to say, let's look at some consolidation, there's an opportunity, if it's the will of the board, to potentially look at selling property and recouping some of that loss.
Yeah, and forgive me, you could go ahead and sign up for your tour with the principal over there.
Right there.
Right now.
Next door.
So I would urge everybody to do that. It will help you in discussing this in the community. Absolutely, I promise you.
During non-instructional time.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go, because I was
Go
supposed
for lunch.
I was supposed to go after Mr. Riley, but I do agree a little bit with this. I agree with Dr. Barnes too. I think safety is the most important part of this. But that conversation has to come up. You know, the downside, I wasn't on school board when they had their last redistricting discussion, but it was very hot issue. A lot of parents do come out for that, and they get very upset. I don't know, doing it at the same time as a bond is a good idea, only as I think it causes a lot more probably upset, and people, to be fair, don't understand the nuances. We're sitting here trying to understand it. A lot of folks don't really understand. All they hear is my kid's going to get moved, and that's upsetting. I do not disagree with you, though. I think people do want to know that we're using our space wisely. There are a few schools that are under, and on the side of it also, there are areas of the county that are growing a lot faster than other areas of the county. And River Lights area is definitely an area. So is Porter's Neck, and Castle Haynes 100%. It's 100% capacity, 101.24 to be exact. That side of the county, I think, is going to keep growing. But like Delaney, like you said, it's been a problem. My kid went there. There was 400 kids more than there should have been in that school. That's a safety issue. You know, so I think if we stress the safety and the health and well-being of students first, I think that's a good idea, but you can't ignore the fact that there needs to be a discussion on, I would call it pocket redistricting maybe, not like an overall thing. But it's clear there are trends in the county that we need to look at. But I will also add, talking about Mary C. Williams, not to pick on it, but like Hanover has the same argument. Like we just heard from the principal, you know, the front looks beautiful, but you cannot ignore the rest of what's going on at that school. And to me, that is a safety issue as well. So, I mean, I would say, I don't know what the numbers look at, because we're trying to decide. Let's see, from the last meeting, I don't remember us discussing 10 million in technology. Maybe we did briefly.
They were on
Yes,
the list.
we did it briefly.
But I don't know that we added that as the
We
top
did, it
five.
was a million, yeah.
We did.
I don't remember
We
that.
did.
They were on the list, because I feel strongly that every school, or at least every.
Yeah, we did.
You said a technology getting done in 10 years, like, I think a technology changes every 2 or 3 years. I don't, to your point about messaging.
That's not what I said. I said over the period
I heard what you said, but what my point being is, you're right, we need to message that what does that include? Because if you're going to sell a bond, you definitely got to talk about what is specifically.
There's
We
a
will.
lot of things about selling it that we'll get to.
Yeah.
And Chris is right, you're right. I think
Yeah,
we all
we
have.
are.
We'll get to a point, I think that, and I saw this, I guess, yesterday for the first time and had the same thoughts, Chris,
Yeah.
you know, and so I do think that the board has to be preparing.
We are.
Because one of those messages, I have heard that, so that's one of those messages that we're going to have to create to sell these bonds to the voters is going to be that there's the value of some consolidation and or property, surplus property being off the table means then there are savings in overhead. That's another thing, right? That we continue to hear our schools everywhere need more money, right, for operations. You know, and we all agree, and yet if we're inefficiently spending some of those, I mean, I think this is ultimately going to be good messaging.
Yes.
Because I'm trusting, don't let me down, I'm trusting that my superintendent and my school board are really gonna dig in and do the hard work between now and next summer so that we can tell people what to expect to a certain degree, and everything changes, and we gotta be careful not to write everything in blood and stone and all the
Sure.
things. And I think this is gonna be an important exercise, and we could very well be an example to some other school systems
who haven't been forced to figure this out, but we gotta figure this
Good
out.
point.
It's kind of ridiculous that we've got some of the low percentages and we're talking about new schools, right? The average person's not gonna be able to make sense of that, so we gotta help them.
Right, and to address the 10 million for safety, 10 million for technology, and then 20 million for other capital, including HVAC, I would expect at this next meeting, we would have a breakdown of what those things would include, because our board's going to need it between now and then. And, but baby steps, you know, we've got to have the baby first. And that's us approving whatever our list is today, and then that goes to our board. And so if we could direct questions back, what is a stumbling block for you to be able to vote in the next 10 minutes on this list? Because I will, in parliamentary procedure, somebody puts out a motion. So I would be interested in a motion to take sample of project cost, that list that we all have, add the 20 million for the capital improvements, including HVAC, to take us to 320,521,418 as our suggestion to the board. So
I'll
if you,
second that.
well,
That wasn't a motion.
I'll make that motion then.
Oh, I
and
thought
we
you
have a
said I'm
second.
sorry.
But that's what I'm interested in. Now we can debate that motion, pro and con. Yes, ma'am, Lisa.
I actually have two questions and then a comment. So my first question is, on this list, are these still in priority order? So if whatever the recommendation is by the school board goes to the county commission, if, and I have no idea how anybody feels about it, but if they decide that there's not 300 million of capacity, there's 200 million of capacity, totally making up numbers, but that some of these would need to be cut off, are they in priority order? That's my first question.
I'll let Dr. Barnes answer that.
I think that as a committee, you guys are going to give our recommendation to the board. I would probably ask Mr. Coudray, Mr. Credo, would you prefer it to be in priority order or not? And then our board can do that work. I think you can send your recommendation that way or not that way.
Okay.
I'm kind of cool either way.
Okay.
But if that's the way the end result needs to be, we will deliver it to the county in that manner.
Okay, that's helpful. And then my second question related to Trask Middle School with the new building. Just to make sure if the current building is going to be used to house ninth graders or house Laney students in some way, are there any renovations needed at that school, and is that included in this cost at the current Trask site?
No, not right now. I mean, the principal's here. I'm sure she would say, yes, there are renovations.
No, I would actually, no,
Okay.
the building was just completely renovated
Okay.
6 years ago.
Okay.
It's a beautiful facility.
All right, wonderful. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's ready to
I mean,
be
there's
used. It's ready to
always things.
continue being used.
Okay.
Just
There's
That's
be
helpful.
always,
used
Thank
with a
you.
different school.
you know, minor things,
Yeah.
but no, that building is in
Okay.
beautiful shape.
Thank you. That's
And
very
let me
helpful.
say, with Lisa's question, I would then amend that motion that I made to order them. River Lights 1, New Hanover Phase 1, 2, Pine Valley 3, Trask CTEC 4, Porter's Neck 5, 6 district-wide technology improvements, 7 district-wide safety improvements, 8, this is the only change, 8. I would add the 20 million for other capital improvements to be number 8, and then let program management and contingency be 9 and 10. So there are 10 things now on this list.
Disagree heavily with that order, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Respectfully.
Go ahead. That would be my amendment, but how would you like to change that?
I don't want to monopolize the discussion of the committee, but I do not believe that that is top priority for myself at least. And so if we're looking at trying to get the will of the committee, getting feedback from that is, I would be happy to see it, but that is not my order of top priorities of projects to be completed
Okay.
in that order that you listed off. So I
And
just wanted to express that.
let's do this.
For the record.
Do we believe, I think Dr. Barnes just addressed this, do we believe that we have to order them today? Or do we have to get that magic number today? And the body of what we want to do?
I don't think we're ready to do that. I don't think we're ready to do that. I mean, I don't know enough about.
Yeah, and I don't care if we order them, but, today, I don't care if we do. But if it's necessary we do it today, then we need to, but if not, and that's the question, is it necessary that we order them today?
Madam Chair, if I could make maybe a compromise solution here, or in the priority list, I think that only the first 5 should be prioritized. The other ones,
Okay.
district-wide technology, safety, and the other capital improvements, fall into a separate, different category that will be
Good point.
fully prioritized across the entire system, to Natalie's point.
Why don't we,
If I could put a point in.
and I withdraw that
I would-
amendment.
I would almost make the idea that we should come up with the list, the board, because the board's going to.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway,
The
so
board
why-
should order
why
it.
we, we don't have that much
The board
time
should
on
order it. I agree, I agree.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question again to clarify my,
Absolutely.
how I want to respond to your motion? It's a question for Eric, Lisa, Amanda. And so this motion is to recommend to the school board $320,521,418 in a bond referendum. And how does, I think I know the answer, how does this fit into the debt capacity?
Good question.
We've got a 15-year plan that we presented the last time. It includes a lot of new issuances, even ones that we don't know that are coming up. And I think we were somewhat conservative in laying those out. Even though in the $300 million one, we do go above the 2,200 line for 3 years, just me, it doesn't seem excessive, and it's for a fairly short period of time, so I think it's not unreasonable to put that to the commissioners for their consideration.
And that's 300, not 320.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, 320 would put it up, not materially so, so I don't think that's completely unreasonable
Thank you.
either.
I'd like to add my 2 cents, if that's okay. I feel like Hanover should be the very, very top priority, honestly, and I do agree with Commissioner Zappel on at least getting 2 phases into this bond. If we do remove that, I did the math, if you took out the stuff below Porter's Neck Elementary on this list, it's 272,350,891, I mean, approximately. I think the more we can add Hanover in there, the better, because I'm just concerned that if we don't address at least the 2 phases of this plan, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we all don't know where the funding's coming from. The endowment is definitely where we should be turning our attention. At the same time, we don't know, like, to the point that was made earlier, and this bond is important. Hanover has been left behind for way too long. I don't think we need to count the 9 to 12 million that did to shore up the building, because that, to me, was neglected for so long. I don't think that should be counted against New Hanover High School. But I just think we've gone on to this trouble to get these plans together and put these phases together. I think we should at least figure out, I don't know if we can parse it up. I mean, just phase 1 alone, I just don't think is enough. If we can do, I don't know, somebody suggested adding things from other phases. I'm not really in favor of that either, but if it gets us further along the line on New Hanover High School, then we need to look at that. I just think New Hanover's just, it's falling apart, y'all. Come on. We can't ignore that. It's a safety issue, more not just let's make it a modern school. So that's my feedback.
Thank you. The motion you have before you is to take the sample of project costs in any order and add the 20 million for other capital improvements, including HVACs, to take it to 10 things for 320, 521, 418. That's the motion before you. Motion is second. So you have a little sticky note, and you'll be able to put a yes or a no on that, and then Jenny's going to collect those back. And I'll take one more question.
I just wanted to make a note. I wasn't finished with my thoughts. I wanted to make a comment that county staff are going to refrain from making the recommendation.
Okay, that'll take us down to 15 voting members, for anyone who's counting.
Pat, can you explain one more time what we're supposed to do?
Yes, you
Oh, to this
vote yes
list
to the
here?
motion that's on the table, which
Okay.
is the sample of project costs. It's online, and you've got it on paper, adding the 20 million of capital improvements, including the HVACs, over the 10-year period to make it 10 things in no particular order. We'll deal with the order next time, but I agree with Mr. Wildebohr. We will hear the order preferences out of our board, and that'll probably take precedent over ours. We can fight about that next month. So unspecified. No, no, we're not going to.
Madam Chair, would...
Just a yes or no?
A yes means a yes to $320 million bond.
That would be our recommendation of this committee to our school board. And then our school board will then take that and massage it in any way they want.
What if you think the number's too low?
Then I would vote no.
Okay.
And if this motion fails, then you can propose another motion.
Or have you reach out to your county commissioner?
Well, and that too, Mr. Zappel, Commissioner Zappel, if we ask you for 320 and you want to give us 350, that's totally up to you. We will not say no to more money, ever, ever. Yes, sir.
I talked with a couple of commissioners this morning. I did reach out to Mr. Coudray as well, because when we first got the 5 scenarios that you guys pulled together for us, I was surprised by how high that number was. Now, I know that things cost a lot, and I called him specifically to say, do you believe that the county can weather that kind of cost? He feels like those numbers that he has put to us are appropriate. So I'm never going to say, you gave us $320 million, that's not enough, right? However, I do think that that is a very reasonable number that I went back and verified, is that a reasonable number? And he thinks that it is. Eric, did I say that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I did it too. So, yes or no on your yellow sheet, Jenny's going to pick them up. Actually move to put the CTEC on there next month, because that was on agenda. You make an agenda. Not CTEC, I think that. That's not from Kim. I don't know what, but it is, so we'll just move that to next month. It is on the agenda. Are we collected, Jenny? Okay, so we have about 10 more minutes. We have our next meeting date already set, and it is September 18th at 12:30. And then I believe we have October 17th. October 17th at 12:30 is set. So with Christmas and New Year, and Thanksgiving, I'd love some suggestions on what a November meeting might look like in terms of your calendar now. If you can throw out, I absolutely have to have this done by this date or I can't meet with you guys, that would be great. Isaac Bear is on our list for discussion today. I'm just going to roll that over till next month. Obviously, Isaac Bear is not included in this bond, but I think we're making some progress in talking to people, so please continue to talk to the people who are decision makers in that and see if we can't come up for some solution there as well. And while we wait on a tally from Jenny, look at November on your calendar.
Madam Chair, I'm unavailable the 11th through the 13th.
Ouch. Okay, looking at the calendar we have from the county are not cast in stone. The scope has to be determined by October 31st. So I'd like to hit that if we can, which means at our October 17th meeting, we will get to that point. And then we don't have anything else we have to have finalized until January, but we have to have our central office staff work, and then we have to have theirs work. So we have to allow time for the two departments, admin, to do their work. So I think we should do maybe November and maybe skip December, or either way. I don't care. I just need some suggestions from you, the body. If we do October 17th, Ms. Barnhart's saying from the 11th to the 13th is out. That puts us the 14th of November, the 17th or the 18th of November, and then we're getting a little close to the holiday. 20th would be a Thursday, but I don't know if we need to get that close to Thanksgiving. It's a week out. What about November 20? Can everybody do November 20? November 20? November 20, going once?
Wait, please.
Yeah. Our business people
My
have.
board meets that day. I cannot meet before 3 o'clock.
Okay. What about the 19th? Wednesday, the 19th? That's a no?
For me, it is.
Okay. What date would work for you in November? Sometimes it's easier to work backwards. And Livian, how about you? And Chris, how about you?
I could do the 18th.
It's a Tuesday, the 18th. Do we have anything on that day? Is that policy, Pete? Nope. November 18th, Tuesday? Want to try that? Okay, we're good? Do you have a total for us, sir? Take it away.
We have 12 yeses, 2 nos, and 1 Philip Sutton needs a raise, so I guess we know how he voted. There are 12 yeses and 2 nos.
Policies at 1, so that would blow that. What about Monday the 17th? We never do a Monday. There might be a reason for that.
Mondays are just uber hard for me. I just got back-to-backs on Mondays.
Ah, okay.
Morning meeting, though, right?
Pete, what about a morning meeting for this group before policy? What time would that be? What would make it comfortable for you? Change the room out. What about 10:30 on the 18th? Change in time? Might be different. Okay. All right, let's save that as a tentative and Jenny will send that out. And so the motion passes 12-2 to bring this recommendation, sample project costs, plus adding the 20 million, to take us to 320, 521, 418. And then we're going to immediately go into a work session for our board, and this could get torn completely apart. We don't know the appetite of our 7-member board, but we'll see. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I really appreciate everyone's attention to this. I think from October to today, we have accomplished a great amount, and it's kind of exciting and scary at the same time, but we're moving in the right direction. So we'll see what these next couple of weeks do, and then we'll get back to it in October. So thank you. A motion to adjourn, anyone?
Second.
All right. We are adjourned.
It's like cheer.